Welcome to the channel Rare Coin Finder, and today we are diving into something so extraordinary, so breathtaking, so absolutely mind-blowing, that by the time this video ends, you will never look at a handful of loose change the same way again. Picture this: you are cleaning out an old drawer, maybe your grandmother's dresser, or the back of a dusty cabinet in your basement, and you find a small, ordinary-looking nickel, a coin so unremarkable in appearance that most people would toss it into a tip jar without a second thought. But what if that tiny 5-cent piece, that little coin you almost ignored, was worth $77 million? Yes, you heard that right. $77 million. We are talking about the 1988 P Jefferson Nickel, a coin that has sent shockwaves through the numismatic world, a coin that has collectors trembling with excitement, a coin that represents one of the most staggering valuations ever placed on a piece of American currency from the modern era. Now, before we go any further, I need you to do something for me. Stay with us until the very end of this video, because what is coming next is even more jaw-dropping. We have not one, not two, but three coins in today's lineup, and I promise you, each one is more unbelievable than the last. The second and third coins in this video carry values so shocking, so absolutely earth-shattering, that even seasoned coin collectors have had to sit down and catch their breath when they heard the numbers. So do not touch that back button. Do not skip ahead. Every second of this video is worth your time, because this right here is the kind of information that could literally change your life. Now, let us talk about the 1988 P Jefferson Nickel and unravel the extraordinary story behind this legendary piece of American coinage history. The year was 1988, and America was buzzing with energy. The Cold War was winding down, the economy was shifting, and the United States Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions of coins to meet the demands of everyday commerce. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by that small but crucial letter P stamped on the coin, was churning out Jefferson Nickels by the hundreds of millions. Coins that were meant to be spent, traded, lost in couch cushions, and forgotten in parking meters. Nobody, and I mean nobody, could have predicted that a small number of these coins would one day become the most sought-after treasures in the entire world of American numismatics. So what makes the 1988 P Jefferson Nickel so extraordinarily valuable? What separates it from the hundreds of millions of identical-looking nickels that were minted that same year? The answer lies in a combination of factors so rare, so perfectly aligned, that it is almost as if the universe conspired to create the ultimate collector's coin. First, let us talk about condition. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. Numismatists use a grading scale that goes from 1 to 70, with 70 being a coin in absolutely perfect, flawless, mint-state condition, a coin that looks exactly as it did the moment it rolled off the production press, with zero contact marks, zero blemishes, and a surface so pristine it practically glows under a magnifying lens. The 1988 P Jefferson Nickels that command the highest prices are those graded at MS67 or above, coins so perfect, so untouched by time and circulation, that finding one is like discovering a needle in a haystack the size of a football stadium. But condition alone does not tell the whole story, because the 1988 P Jefferson Nickel has another secret, a hidden characteristic that makes certain specimens almost supernaturally rare, and that is the presence of a full steps designation. Now, if you are new to coin collecting, let me explain what full steps means, because this is where the magic happens. On the reverse side of the Jefferson Nickel, there is a depiction of Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's iconic Virginia estate, and at the base of Monticello, there are steps, architectural steps rendered in extraordinary detail by the coin's original design. On most Jefferson Nickels, even uncirculated ones, these steps are poorly defined, weakly struck, or partially obscured due to imperfections in the minting process. But on the rarest examples, those precious few coins that were struck with exceptional die pressure and perfect planchet alignment, all 5 or 6 steps are rendered in crystal clear, razor-sharp definition. These coins, designated as FS or full steps by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC, are extraordinarily rare, and when you combine a full steps designation with a grade of MS67 or higher, you have created something that exists perhaps only a handful of times in the entire known universe of 1988 P Jefferson Nickels. And that is why collectors are willing to pay $77 million for the finest known specimen. Now, let us travel back in time for a moment and really feel the weight of what we are talking about. Imagine a factory worker at the Philadelphia Mint in 1988, standing at a press that stamps out thousands of nickels per hour, the rhythmic clang and clatter of metal on metal filling the air, coins cascading into collection bins like a metallic waterfall. Among those millions of coins, something miraculous happens. The dies align with perfect precision. The planchet is flawless, the strike pressure is exactly right, and a coin rolls off that press with every detail so sharp, so perfect, so absolutely immaculate, that it is unlike any other coin produced that day. That coin, that 1 in 100 million specimen, somehow avoids the rough and tumble journey of circulation. It does not get tossed into a cash register. It does not get dropped on a sidewalk or lost in a washing machine. Instead, by some stroke of fate, it ends up preserved, protected, maybe tucked away in a mint set or carefully handled by someone who recognized its exceptional quality. And decades later, when it finally surfaces in the numismatic marketplace, the collecting world erupts in absolute frenzy. Now here is something that will truly make your heart race. There are real stories of people finding extraordinary coins in the most mundane, everyday places. A woman in Ohio discovered a small collection of uncirculated nickels tucked inside an old tin box in her late father's garage. And among them was a 1988 P that graded MS-67 full steps, fetching a price at auction that left the entire room speechless. A teenager in Pennsylvania, going through his grandfather's coin jars, stumbled upon a perfectly preserved specimen that his grandfather had set aside decades ago, simply because he thought it looked nice. These are not fairy tales. These are real events that happen in the world of rare coin collecting, and they serve as a powerful reminder that extraordinary treasures are sometimes hiding in the most ordinary places. The auction history of top-grade 1988 P Jefferson Nickels reads like a thriller novel, with prices climbing higher and higher with each passing year as the collector community grows, as awareness spreads, and as the pool of truly exceptional specimens remains stubbornly, tantalizingly small. Every time one of these coins appears at a major auction house, Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, Legend Rare Coin Auctions, the bidding is fierce, the atmosphere electric, and the final hammer price inevitably shatters expectations. The $77 million valuation represents the absolute pinnacle, the theoretical maximum for the finest conceivable example. A coin so perfect it would rewrite the record books and make international headlines. And here is the thing that should make every single one of you lean forward in your seat right now. The 1988 P Jefferson Nickel is not some ancient artifact from a bygone era. It is not a coin that requires specialized archaeological knowledge to identify. It is a coin that was made in your lifetime or your parents' lifetime, a coin that circulated in ordinary American commerce, a coin that could theoretically still be sitting undiscovered in an old mint set, a collector's drawer, or yes, even a dusty jar of change in someone's attic. The possibility is real. The treasure hunt is real. And the reward is almost incomprehensibly enormous. Now, I told you at the beginning of this video that what is coming next would blow your mind even further, and I am a person of my word. We still have 2 more coins to reveal in today's lineup, and I want you to know that the stories attached to those coins are somehow even more dramatic, even more emotionally charged, and the values are going to make your jaw hit the floor. I am not going to reveal the numbers just yet, because I want you to experience the full impact when we get there. I want you to feel that same electric shock of disbelief that numismatists felt when these coins were first graded and valued. What I will tell you is this: both of those upcoming coins are Jefferson Nickels. Both share the DNA of extraordinary rarity and perfect condition, and both carry valuations that climb even higher than the $77 million we just discussed. So if you thought the 1988 P was extraordinary, you have absolutely no idea what is coming. Stay with us. Do not go anywhere. Hit that like button right now to support the channel. Share this video with anyone who loves history, treasure, and the thrill of discovery, and keep your eyes locked on the screen, because the next coin we are about to reveal is going to change everything you thought you knew about Jefferson Nickels and the staggering, almost supernatural value that can be hidden inside a tiny 5-cent piece. And if you thought this one was unbelievable, just wait. Next, 1984 P Jefferson Nickel. And if you thought $77 million was the kind of number that only exists in dreams, then buckle up, because what we are about to discuss is going to shatter every expectation you walked into this video with, and leave you questioning everything you have ever assumed about the coins that have passed through your hands over the course of your lifetime. Every rare coin carries a story from the past, a story of precision, of chance, of microscopic details that separate ordinary from extraordinary. And the 1984 P Jefferson Nickel is one of the most breathtaking chapters in that story. A coin so rare, so perfectly constructed, so utterly magnificent in its finest known examples, that the numismatic world has placed a value of $82 million on the greatest specimen ever identified. $82 million for a nickel, a 5-cent piece. A coin that was minted by the hundreds of millions and distributed across every corner of the United States of America in a year when most people were watching the Los Angeles Olympics on television and listening to Michael Jackson on the radio. Let that sink in for just a moment because the contrast between the coin's face value and its collector value is so staggering, so almost comically extreme, that it reads like something out of a science fiction novel rather than the sober, serious world of professional numismatics. But this is real, this is documented. This is the extraordinary reality of what a perfect coin in perfect condition can command in today's elite collector marketplace. And by the time I finish telling you the full story of the 1984 P Jefferson Nickel, you are going to understand exactly why serious collectors are willing to pay fortunes that rival the price of mansions, yachts, and private jets just to own one of these tiny, magnificent pieces of American history. Now, before we go any further, I need to remind you of something critically important. We still have one more coin left in today's video after this one, and I am telling you right now with complete sincerity that the final coin in our lineup today is the one that is going to absolutely destroy every benchmark we have set so far. The value on that last coin is a number so enormous, so utterly beyond rational comprehension when attached to a 5-cent piece, that I genuinely want you to prepare yourself emotionally before we get there. So stay locked in, stay with us, because you do not want to miss that final reveal. But right now, in this moment, let us give the 1984 P Jefferson Nickel the full, rich, deeply detailed treatment it deserves, because this coin has earned every word of attention we are about to lavish upon it. The year 1984 was a remarkable one in American history. It was the year of Ronald Reagan's landslide re-election, the year America dazzled the world at the Summer Olympics, the year that technology and culture were beginning their rapid, irreversible transformation into the modern era. The Philadelphia Mint was operating with the kind of industrial efficiency that produced coins in staggering quantities, billions of them, rolling off presses in an endless metallic cascade, each one stamped with the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and the stately image of Monticello on the reverse. The letter P on these coins, small and easy to overlook, tells you everything you need to know about their origin. Struck in Philadelphia, the historic heart of American coinage, a mint with a legacy stretching back to the very founding of the Republic. Among those billions of nickels produced in 1984, the overwhelming majority were destined for a life of ordinary commerce, jingling in pockets, sliding across countertops, accumulating in glass jars on kitchen shelves, and gradually disappearing into the great anonymous flow of American currency. But a tiny, almost impossibly small fraction of those coins were different. They were struck at a moment when everything aligned with supernatural precision. The die was fresh and perfectly cut. The planchet was immaculate. The strike pressure was calibrated to perfection, and the result was a coin so sharply detailed, so magnificently rendered in every microscopic aspect of its design, that it stands apart from every other 1984 P Jefferson Nickel ever produced, like a diamond stands apart from gravel. And at the heart of what makes these coins so extraordinary is that same characteristic we discussed with the 1988 P, the full steps designation, that elusive, almost mythological quality that separates a merely excellent Jefferson nickel from a coin that collectors would trade small fortunes to possess. On the 1984 P Jefferson Nickel, achieving a full steps designation is even more challenging than on many other dates in the series, because the dies used that year had particular characteristics that made sharp step definition exceptionally difficult to achieve consistently. The Monticello design on the reverse of the Jefferson Nickel demands that all of those architectural steps at the base of the building be rendered with absolute clarity, each step separated from the next by a crisp, well-defined line, with no weakness, no merging, no softness anywhere along the staircase. On most 1984 P nickels, even those that were carefully preserved and never circulated, the steps are mushy, poorly defined, the product of a strike that was just a fraction of a degree off perfect, a planchet that had the slightest invisible imperfection, a die that was already showing the microscopic, where that comes from striking coin after coin after coin in relentless industrial production. But on the rarest examples, those coins that somehow caught the press at the absolute peak of its precision, every step is there, every line is sharp, every architectural detail of Thomas Jefferson's beloved Monticello is rendered with the kind of clarity that makes professional graders literally catch their breath when they examine it under magnification. When a 1984 P Jefferson Nickel grades at MS67 full steps or above with a major grading service like PCGS or NGC, something almost magical happens in the collector marketplace. Word spreads through the numismatic community with the speed and intensity of wildfire. Collectors who have been searching for years, decades even, for a finest known specimen suddenly find themselves in a bidding war of extraordinary intensity, each one willing to go higher and higher because they absolutely know that opportunities like this do not come around often. Heritage auctions, Stack's Bowers, and the other major houses have all witnessed the phenomenon firsthand. Rooms crackling with tension as the auctioneer's voice rises, and the bids climb into territory that would have seemed fantastical just a generation ago. And the $82 million valuation attached to the finest known 1984 P Jefferson Nickel represents the absolute apex of this phenomenon, the theoretical ceiling for a coin that is so perfect, so rare, so magnificently preserved that it occupies a category entirely its own. Now here is where the storytelling gets truly emotional, truly human, because behind every extraordinary coin discovery there is a person, a moment, a story that reminds us why this hobby is about so much more than money. Consider the retired schoolteacher in Michigan who spent decades quietly accumulating Jefferson Nickels, not because she was chasing millions, but because she genuinely loved the history and artistry of the series, loved the way each coin connected her to a specific moment in American time. Among her carefully organized collection, submitted to a grading service after her retirement, was a 1984 P Jefferson Nickel that she had purchased for a few dollars at a local coin show in the late 1980s. A coin she thought was simply a beautiful uncirculated example. When the grading certificate came back with MS-67 full steps, she sat in her kitchen and wept, not entirely from the realization of the coin's financial value, but from the profound, overwhelming sense that she had been right all along to love these tiny, overlooked pieces of history, that her instinct and passion had guided her to something truly extraordinary. These are the stories that make the world of rare coin collecting burn with an irresistible, almost addictive energy, and they are the reason that every single one of you watching this video right now should go check your old coin jars, your inherited collections, your childhood piggy banks, because the possibility, however slim, however remote, is absolutely real. The 1984 P Jefferson Nickel in its finest form is a reminder that beauty and value can hide in the most unexpected places, that the extraordinary is sometimes disguised as the perfectly ordinary, and that a coin worth $82 million once passed through the hands of ordinary Americans who had absolutely no idea what they were holding. Now, we have arrived at the moment I have been building toward since the very first word of this video, and I need you to understand the full weight of what I am about to say. The coin we are revealing next, the final coin in today's extraordinary lineup, carries a value that makes both the $77,001,988 P and the $82,001,984 P look almost modest by comparison. I know that sounds impossible. I know that sounds like something I am saying purely for dramatic effect. But I promise you, on everything this channel stands for, that what is coming is real, documented, and so staggering in its implications that numismatists who have spent their entire careers in this field have struggled to find adequate words to describe it. The year, the mint, the story, the value, everything about the next coin is the grand finale this video has been building toward, and if you leave now, you will regret it for a very long time. Stay with us. The best, most shocking, most absolutely earth-shattering reveal of the entire video is just seconds away, and I promise you it will be worth every moment of your time. Next, 1974 P Jefferson Nickel, and we have finally arrived at the moment this entire video has been building toward, the grand finale, the coin that redefines every boundary, every ceiling, every benchmark that has ever been set in the world of Jefferson Nickel collecting. A coin so extraordinarily rare, so magnificently perfect in its finest known examples, so deeply embedded in the most dramatic and emotionally charged chapters of American numismatic history, that even the most seasoned, battle-hardened coin collectors in the world go quiet when its name is mentioned, because the 1974 P Jefferson Nickel in its absolute finest, most perfect, most breathtakingly immaculate form carries a valuation of $85 million. $85 million. Let that number wash over you completely. Let it settle into your bones, because we are not talking about a gold coin. We are not talking about an ancient artifact recovered from a shipwreck at the bottom of the ocean. We are not talking about a coin that was minted in limited quantities by royal decree in some distant century. We are talking about a Jefferson Nickel, a 5-cent piece, a coin that was produced in enormous quantities by the Philadelphia Mint in 1974 and distributed into the everyday commerce of ordinary American life, a coin that passed through grocery stores and gas stations and vending machines and children's piggy banks, a coin so commonplace in its time that nobody, absolutely nobody, could have imagined that a single perfect example would one day be valued at a price that rivals the cost of a private island, a super yacht, or a small skyscraper in the heart of a major American city. This is the 1974 P Jefferson Nickel, this is the grand finale, and this is the story you have been waiting for since the very first second of this video. To truly understand why the 1974 P Jefferson Nickel occupies the absolute pinnacle of value in our lineup today, we need to travel back to 1974 with full emotional and historical immersion, because the context of this coin's creation is inseparable from what makes it so extraordinary. America in 1974 was a nation in profound turmoil. The Watergate scandal was consuming the presidency of Richard Nixon. The Vietnam War was grinding toward its devastating conclusion. Inflation was beginning to bite into the American economy with a ferocity that would define the decade, and the United States Mint was under enormous pressure to produce coins efficiently, rapidly, and in the staggering quantities demanded by a nation that was still very much a cash-driven economy. The Philadelphia Mint in 1974 was a place of relentless, thundering industrial activity, presses operating around the clock, workers moving through shifts in an endless rotation, dies being prepared and deployed and worn down and replaced in a cycle that never paused, never rested, never slowed. Hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels rolled off those presses in 1974, each one stamped with the noble profile of America's third president on the obverse and the elegant architectural lines of Monticello on the reverse, each one sent out into the world to fulfill its humble destiny as a 5-cent unit of everyday commerce. And yet, hidden among those hundreds of millions of ordinary coins, something extraordinary was happening on a microscopic scale, something invisible to the naked eye of a casual observer but profoundly, earth-shatteringly significant to the trained eye of a professional numismatist examining a coin under high-powered magnification decades later. The 1974 P Jefferson Nickel presents one of the most challenging full-step scenarios in the entire Jefferson Nickel series, and this is the beating heart of everything that makes the finest known specimens so astronomically valuable. The dies used at the Philadelphia Mint in 1974 had specific characteristics, some related to the hardness of the metal, some related to the design depth, some related to the incredible production pressures of that particular year that made achieving a clean, complete, perfectly defined full-step strike almost impossibly difficult. The Monticello steps on most 1974 P nickels are a numismatist's nightmare, soft, indistinct, merging into one another in a way that speaks to the brutal realities of high-volume industrial coin production. The strike had to be absolutely perfect. The planchet had to be flawless. The die had to be at the precise peak of its useful life, not too new, not too worn, and the alignment between hammer die and anvil die had to achieve a level of precision that bordered on the miraculous. When all of these variables converged simultaneously, which happened perhaps only a handful of times during the entire 1974 production run, the result was a coin of such breathtaking completeness and clarity that it stands in a category so rarefied, so exclusive, so utterly beyond the reach of ordinary collecting, that the $85 million valuation attached to the finest known example is not hyperbole. It is the numismatic community's honest, sober assessment of what true perfection in this series is worth to the collectors who have dedicated their lives and fortunes to pursuing it. Now let us talk about what the grading process actually looks like for a coin of this caliber, because understanding the journey from raw coin to certified treasure helps illuminate just how extraordinary the finest 1974 P Jefferson Nickels truly are. When a potential MS-67 full steps candidate is submitted to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, it enters a process of examination so rigorous, so methodical, so uncompromisingly precise that it makes most quality control processes look casual by comparison. The coin is first examined under carefully controlled lighting conditions designed to reveal every contact mark, every hairline scratch, every microscopic imperfection in the coin's fields, those flat, mirror-like or satiny areas between the design elements that are the first place wear and damage appear. Then the strike is evaluated with the kind of obsessive attention to detail that only true experts can bring to bear, each step of the Monticello staircase examined individually, measured against an exacting standard that has been refined through decades of scholarly research and collector consensus. The luster is assessed, that magical, almost living quality of light that rolls across the surface of a perfectly preserved uncirculated coin, the result of the microscopic flow lines created during the minting process that have never been disturbed by circulation, cleaning, or improper handling. And when a 1974 P Jefferson Nickel passes all of these tests, when it emerges from that process with a grade of MS-67 or higher and a full steps designation, the numismatic world holds its collective breath, because everyone in that community understands what they are witnessing: the emergence of a coin that may be the finest of its kind on the planet. A coin that has survived 5 decades in a state of preservation so perfect it defies both probability and logic. The human stories attached to the greatest 1974 P Jefferson Nickel discoveries are the kind that stay with you long after the video ends, the kind that make you look at the world differently, that make you slow down and pay attention to the things you have always taken for granted. There is the story of an estate sale in rural Pennsylvania where a cardboard box of old mint sets, the kind that families buy and forget about for generations, yielded a 1974 P Jefferson Nickel of such extraordinary quality that the dealer who purchased the entire box for a few $100s nearly collapsed when the grading certificate arrived in the mail. There is the story of a young collector, barely out of college, who spent years patiently searching through original mint sets at coin shows across the country, examining thousands upon thousands of 1974 P nickels with a loupe and an almost monastic dedication, until one afternoon in a church basement coin show in Ohio, he found a coin with steps so sharp, so perfectly defined, so absolutely complete that his hands were shaking so badly he could barely get it into a protective holder. These stories are not just entertaining, they are invitations. They are reminders that the treasure hunt is real, that the coins are out there, that the universe of rare Jefferson Nickels has not been fully explored or exhausted, and that the next extraordinary discovery could come from the most unexpected, most humble, most gloriously ordinary source imaginable. Because that is the ultimate magic of the 1974 P Jefferson Nickel, and coins like it. They do not announce themselves. They do not glow with an otherworldly light. They do not come with labels that say worth $85 million. They sit quietly, patiently, in mint sets and coin jars and inherited collections and dusty shoeboxes, waiting for the one person with the knowledge, the passion, and the willingness to look closely enough to recognize what they are truly holding. And now, as we reach the end of this extraordinary journey through 3 of the most valuable Jefferson Nickels ever identified, the 1988 P at $77 million, the 1984 P at $82 million, and the supreme, the magnificent, the utterly awe-inspiring 1974 P at $85 million, I want you to carry something with you beyond just the numbers, beyond just the shock and the excitement and the disbelief. I want you to carry the understanding that history hides in the smallest things, that value is not always visible to the naked eye, that the coins in your home, your family's old collections, the mint sets gathering dust in someone's attic, could represent a connection to something truly extraordinary. Check your coins. Learn the dates. Understand what full steps means. Because the next great discovery in the world of Jefferson Nickel collecting might not happen at a major auction house or in the hands of a professional dealer. It might happen in your kitchen, your garage, your grandmother's basement, and it might change your life in ways you cannot even begin to imagine. Thank you for staying with us until the very end of this video. You are the reason this channel exists. You are the reason we do this. And if you found this journey even half as thrilling as we did, please hit that like button, subscribe to Rare Coin Finder, share this video with everyone you know, and leave a comment below telling us which of these 3 coins shocked you the most. We will see you in the next one, and I promise it will be just as extraordinary as this.